The phone call that changed everything came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was half asleep when I heard Nicole's voice drifting through the bathroom door, hushed, but not hushed enough. "You know you're the only one who ever really satisfied me. Tom's just safe." I lay there in our king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling fan that squeaked every third rotation. Safe, like a goddamn savings account or a seatbelt. I'd heard worse descriptions of myself, but coming from my wife of 6 years, it hit different. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Nicole emerged from the bathroom 20 minutes later, sliding under the covers like nothing happened. Her blonde hair caught the moonlight streaming through our bedroom window. She'd always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads at the grocery store and made other men wonder what a blue-collar tech consultant like me had done to deserve her. Apparently, I'd been safe. The next morning, Nicole sat across from me at our kitchen island, sipping her organic fair trade coffee and scrolling through her phone. She worked as an HR manager at some startup downtown, the kind of place with ping-pong tables and kombucha on tap. Everything about her morning routine screamed ambition: the power suit, the perfectly applied makeup, the way she held her phone like it contained the secrets of the universe. "Tom, we need to talk," she said, without looking up. I set down my plain black coffee. Apparently I was safe, even in my beverage choices. "About what?" "Derek's back in town." Derek, her ex-husband, the charming car dealer who'd somehow remained in her orbit despite their divorce 3 years before we met. He was one of those guys who sold used BMWs and called everyone buddy while calculating how much he could squeeze out of them. "Okay," I said. "And?" Nicole finally looked at me, her green eyes cold and calculating. "I'm keeping him in my life. Deal with it or leave." The ultimatum hung in the air between us like smoke from a grease fire. She expected me to cave, to be safe old Tom who'd swallow his pride and accept whatever scraps of attention she threw my way. "Option 3, I said. She raised an eyebrow. "What's option 3? I stood up, grabbed my work bag, and headed for the door. "You'll find out." The smirk on her face told me she thought she'd won. Nicole had always underestimated me. It was about to become her biggest mistake. My office was a cramped space in a converted warehouse on the east side of town. I ran IT consulting for small businesses. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills and kept me in the background where I could observe people without them noticing. Most folks saw a guy in jeans and polo shirts who fixed their computers and forgot I existed the moment I left. They had no idea I remembered everything. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from Maya, my boxing coach at Southside Gym. "You look like hell. Come hit something." Maya Rodriguez was 45, built like a fire hydrant, and had a mouth that could make a sailor blush. She'd been training fighters for 20 years and had developed an uncanny ability to read people's problems in the way they threw punches. I found her in the gym's back office, surrounded by fight posters and the smell of old sweat and ambition. "Nicole?" she asked without preamble. "How'd you know?" "You've got that look, like someone just told you Santa Claus works for the IRS. She leaned back in her chair. "What did she do?" I told her about the phone call, the ultimatum, Derek's sudden reappearance. Maya listened without interruption, occasionally nodding like she'd heard this story 1,000 times before. "So, what's option 3? She asked when I finished. "Still working on that." Maya grinned. "Knock 'em out with brains, not fists. That's what separates the smart fighters from the ones eating through straws." That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Nicole's things, not like a jealous husband looking for evidence, but like an IT guy conducting a security audit. I knew her passwords, her patterns, her digital footprints better than she did. What I found made my stomach turn. Text messages with Derek going back months, photos, plans, and worse, evidence of another man in the picture. Brad Morrison, her college ex-boyfriend who'd moved back to town 6 months ago. Rich, arrogant Brad with his trust fund and his downtown loft. Nicole wasn't just cheating, she was running a goddamn tournament bracket. The front door opened at 6:30 p.m. sharp. Nicole always came home at 6:30 like she was punching a time clock. I heard her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, heard her set her purse on the kitchen counter. "Tom, are you home?" I was sitting in our living room with printouts of her text messages spread across the coffee table like a poker hand. Screenshots, phone records, even Derek's business card that I'd found in her coat pocket. "Don't bother sitting down," I said when she appeared in the doorway. Nicole's eyes went wide as she took in the evidence. For the first time in years, she looked genuinely surprised. "Tom, I can explain. Your bags are by the door." Nicole's shock lasted exactly 30 seconds. Then came the denial, the gaslighting, the full performance I should have expected from someone who'd been lying for months. "This is insane," she said, gesturing at the printouts. "You went through my private messages? What kind of husband does that?" The kind whose wife forgot to log out of her iCloud account on the kitchen iPad. I stood up, gathering the evidence. "Sloppy, Nicole. I expected better from someone juggling 3 men." "3? Tom, you're being paranoid." "Derek, Brad, and me. Though I'm guessing I was always meant to be the safety net while you figured out which one had more to offer." Her face went through several expressions: surprise, anger, calculation. I could practically see the gears turning as she tried to figure out her next move. "If you think I'm going to be thrown out of my own house because you're insecure, our house, that I've been paying the mortgage on while you spent your salary on new clothes and dinners with your exes." I picked up another printout. "Speaking of which, that Italian place downtown, the one where you told me you had work dinners, Derek's been posting pictures of your dates there on Instagram." The color drained from her face. "You're sick," she whispered. "I'm thorough. There's a difference." She tried tears next, then anger, then bargaining. None of it worked. By 8 p.m., Nicole was loading her BMW with designer luggage and promising this wasn't over. I watched from the window as she drove away, probably heading to Derek's place or Brad's loft. Part of me felt empty, like I'd just thrown away 6 years of my life. The bigger part felt something I hadn't experienced in months: relief. The next few days passed in a blur of paperwork and phone calls. Lawyers, banks, insurance companies. The machinery of divorce ground into motion with surprising efficiency. But Nicole wasn't done with me yet. The first sign of trouble came Thursday evening when I stopped at Murphy's Bar, a dive near the gym where Maya and I sometimes grabbed beers after training. The bartender, Jenny, had always been friendly. Tonight she looked at me like I'd kicked her dog. "Heard about you and Nicole," she said, not making eye contact as she poured my beer. "Word travels fast. She was in here Tuesday night, with Derek. Said you'd been aggressive, threatening." I almost laughed. "Aggressive how?" Jenny shrugged, still not looking at me. "Maybe you should find somewhere else to drink for a while." I left the beer untouched and walked out. 3 blocks down, I passed Cafe Luna, where Nicole and I used to have Sunday brunch. Through the window, I could see her sitting with 2 other women from her office, all of them looking in my direction and whispering. My phone buzzed with a text from my boss. "Everything okay? Got some weird questions about you today." Option 3 was starting to take shape. Friday night, Maya found me at the gym, working the heavy bag like it owed me money. "You look like you want to eliminate something," she observed. "Nicole's been busy. Apparently I'm an abusive monster who threatened her and her poor, innocent ex-husband." Maya snorted. "You? You apologize when you step on ants. Tell that to everyone who's been giving me dirty looks all week. So what are you going to do about it?" I stopped hitting the bag and looked at her. Maya had grown up in this neighborhood, had seen every kind of fight there was. She understood that sometimes you had to hit back, or people would keep hitting you. I'm going to remind everyone why you don't mess with the IT guy. Now you're talking. But remember, don't hit the man, hit his world. That weekend, I put my skills to work. Not hacking, I wasn't stupid enough to do anything illegal. But there were plenty of public records, social media posts, and digital breadcrumbs that people left lying around without thinking about who might be paying attention. Derek's used car business, for instance. The one where he sold certified pre-owned vehicles with rolled-back odometers and hidden flood damage. The complaints to the Better Business Bureau that somehow never got much attention. The customers who'd been screwed over but didn't know how to fight back. I knew how to fight back. By Monday morning, Derek's business had a new Google review profile. Dozens of detailed, factual accounts of his shady practices, complete with documentation and photos. His 4-star rating dropped to 2 stars by lunchtime. Brad was next. Rich boy Brad with his trust fund and his downtown loft. Turns out trust fund babies leave interesting digital footprints when they think nobody's watching, like photos from his recent business trip to Miami, where he'd been partying with college friends while claiming tax deductions for fake client meetings. A few anonymous tips to the IRS would sort that out, but Nicole was the real target. HR manager Nicole, who'd been padding her resume and fudging her credentials for years. The degree from State University that she'd never actually completed. The professional certifications she'd let lapse but still claimed on LinkedIn. The company policies she'd been violating while lecturing other employees about proper conduct. Her startup's CEO was a friend of a friend. It took exactly one conversation to plant the right seeds of doubt. Tuesday morning, my phone rang. Nicole's number. "What did you do?" she screamed without preamble. "Good morning to you too. Derek's business is being destroyed by fake reviews, and my boss is asking questions about my background. What the hell did you do?" "Nothing fake about those reviews. I just helped Derek's customers find their voice." "You bastard. You can't do this." "Watch me." I hung up and went back to work. Option 3 was just getting started. The boxing gym became my sanctuary over the next few weeks. Every evening after work, I'd spend 2 hours hitting bags, working the speed ball, and sparring with whoever was brave enough to step into the ring with a man who had nothing left to lose. Maya watched my transformation with the eye of someone who'd seen fighters discover their dangerous instinct. "You're getting scary good at this," she said, after I'd dominated a sparring session with Tony, a semi-pro who usually mopped the floor with weekend warriors like me. Turns out I had some aggression to work through. "No kidding. But remember what I told you, brains over fists. You start throwing hands in the real world, you give them ammunition." She was right, but the temptation was growing stronger every day, especially when I saw Derek's BMW parked outside Nicole's new apartment, or when Brad posted Instagram stories of expensive dinners that my soon-to-be ex-wife was clearly enjoying. The breaking point came on a Thursday night in October. I'd been working late, finishing a network security audit for a client, when I decided to grab dinner at Tony's Pizza, a hole-in-the-wall place near downtown. That's where I saw them. Nicole, Derek, and Brad, sitting at a corner table like some twisted polyamorous summit meeting. They were laughing, sharing a bottle of wine, and from the way Nicole kept touching both men's arms, it was clear the situation had evolved beyond what I'd imagined. I was about to leave when Derek spotted me. He whispered something to the others, and all 3 turned to look in my direction. Then Derek stood up and walked over. "Tom, buddy," he said with that used car salesman smile. "Fancy seeing you here." Derek. I didn't stand up, didn't extend my hand, just looked at him like he was something I'd scraped off my shoe. "Listen, no hard feelings about the business thing, right? I mean, competition's competition." "Competition?" "Nicole told us about your little revenge campaign. Pretty childish, if you ask me. But hey, we all handle rejection differently." The word rejection hit like a slap. Behind Derek, I could see Nicole and Brad watching our conversation with obvious amusement. This wasn't an accidental encounter. They'd orchestrated this whole thing. "You think this is rejection?" I asked. Derek's smile faltered slightly. "Well, I mean, Nicole chose—" I stood up slowly, using every inch of my 6-foot frame to tower over Derek's 5'8". The months of boxing had added muscle to my shoulders and arms, and I could see him notice the change. "Derek," I said quietly, "you're about to learn the difference between rejection and revolution." I walked past him toward the exit, but not before stopping at their table. "Nicole," I said, loud enough for nearby diners to hear, "enjoying your farewell tour?" Her face went red. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Ask Derek about his IRS audit, ask Brad about his trust fund investigation, and ask yourself what happens when your boss finds out about your fake degree." I left them sitting there in stunned silence. The next morning, I got a call from Maya. "You need to get down here," she said. "Now." I found her in the gym's office with a woman I'd never seen before. Tall, athletic, with short dark hair and the kind of confident posture that screamed law enforcement. "Tom, this is Detective Sarah Chen. She's got some questions about your wife." "Ex-wife," I corrected automatically. Detective Chen studied me with sharp eyes. "Mr. Patterson, I understand you've been having some marital difficulties." That's one way to put it. "Your wife filed a complaint yesterday, claims you've been stalking her, threatening her friends, engaging in harassment." I almost laughed. "Let me guess. She's got witnesses." Derek Morrison and Brad Stevens both corroborated her story. Of course they did. I sat down across from the detective. "What exactly am I supposed to have done?" Chen consulted her notebook. "Following them to restaurants, confronting Mr. Morrison in public, making threatening statements." "I went to Tony's Pizza for dinner. They happened to be there. Derek approached me, not the other way around. As for threatening statements," I shrugged. "I told them about some legal troubles they might be facing, public information." "You've been conducting some kind of investigation into these men?" "I've been protecting myself. When someone tries to destroy your reputation, you document everything." Maya leaned forward. "Detective, I've known Tom for 3 years. He's not violent. Hell, he apologizes when he accidentally hits the heavy bag too hard." Chen looked between us, clearly trying to read the situation. "Mr. Patterson, I'm going to give you some advice. Whatever you think you're accomplishing with this campaign, it needs to stop. Divorce is messy enough without adding criminal charges to the mix." "Are you arresting me?" "Not today, but I'll be watching." After she left, Maya turned to me with a worried expression. "Tom, what aren't you telling me?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos I'd taken outside Derek's dealership the night before. His prized 1969 Camaro, the one he'd restored himself and bragged about on social media constantly, now sported a spider web of scratches across the hood and the word liar keyed into the driver's side door. "Jesus Christ, Tom, did you—" "No, but I know who did." I scrolled to another photo, this one showing a figure in dark clothing walking away from the car. The face wasn't visible, but the body shape was distinctly female. "Nicole?" That's what I thought at first. But look at the height, the build. That's not Nicole. Maya studied the photo more carefully. Then who? Someone who wants everyone to think I'm escalating. Someone who benefits from making me look like the crazy ex-husband. The pieces were starting to come together, and I didn't like the picture they formed. "Maya, I need to ask you something." That night, Nicole called me when I overheard her talking about how I was just safe. What if she wasn't talking to Derek or Brad? "What do you mean?" "What if there's someone else in this equation? Someone who's been pulling strings from the beginning?" Maya's eyes widened as the implications hit her. "You think someone's been playing all of you?" "I think someone's been playing everyone, and I'm about to find out who." The answer came from an unexpected source, Derek Morrison himself. I found him at his dealership on Saturday morning, standing next to his vandalized Camaro and looking like someone had eliminated his dog. The scratches were even worse in daylight, deep gouges that would require a complete repaint. "Admiring your handiwork?" he asked when he saw me approaching. "Wasn't me, Derek, but I know who it was." He laughed bitterly. "Right. And I suppose you've got proof?" I showed him the photo on my phone. He studied it for a long moment, his expression shifting from anger to confusion. "That's not Nicole," he said finally. "No, it's not, but I bet you know who it is." Derek looked at me for a long moment, then seemed to deflate. "Jenna Walsh, Nicole's friend from work." Jenna. I'd met her a few times at company parties and social gatherings, tall, dark-haired, always hovering around Nicole like a shadow. She worked in PR for some downtown firm, the kind of woman who made networking look like an art form. "Why would Jenna vandalize your car?" Derek ran his hand through his thinning hair. "Because she's been orchestrating this whole thing from the beginning. Nicole, me, Brad, we're all just pieces on her chessboard." "I'm listening." "You remember that PR scandal about 2 years ago? The one where someone leaked internal emails from Morrison Communications, showing they were lying to clients about campaign results?" I did remember. It had been big news locally, destroying the company's reputation and costing several people their jobs. "That was you," Derek continued. "You were doing IT work for them, found the emails, and reported it to the state attorney general." I had done exactly that, but I'd never connected it to Nicole's social circle. Jenna Walsh was the account director who got fired. She blamed you for destroying her career, but she couldn't come at you directly without looking vindictive, so she went after your marriage instead. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Jenna befriending Nicole, encouraging her relationship with Derek, introducing her to Brad, playing all sides, creating chaos, and making sure I looked like the villain when everything fell apart. "She's been feeding Nicole ideas, haven't she? Telling her she deserves better, that I'm holding her back?" Derek nodded. "Jenna's the one who suggested Nicole give you that ultimatum. She said it would either break you or make you show your true colors. Either way, Nicole would see what kind of man she'd married. And you and Brad? You're just collateral damage? We're weapons. Jenna doesn't care if we get hurt as long as you get destroyed in the process." I stared at the ruined car, understanding finally dawning. She vandalized this to make me look unstable. Probably called in that police report too. Probably. "Look, Tom, I know we're not friends, but Jenna's dangerous. She's been manipulating all of us, and she won't stop until you're completely destroyed. Then maybe it's time to turn the tables." That afternoon, I called Maya and asked her to meet me at the gym. When she arrived, I laid out everything Derek had told me, along with my own research into Jenna's background. "This woman's been playing a long game," Maya said, studying the timeline I'd constructed. 2 years of setup for one elaborate revenge plot. And it almost worked. If Derek hadn't gotten scared about his car, I might never have figured it out. "So what's the plan?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "Jenna Walsh thinks she's a master manipulator. Let's see how she handles being outmaneuvered by a simple IT guy." The trap I set was elegant in its simplicity. Using a fake social media account, I reached out to Jenna with a business proposition, a new client who needed PR help rebuilding their reputation after a scandal. The kind of high-paying, career-making opportunity that someone blackballed from the industry couldn't resist. We arranged to meet at Skyline Rooftop, an upscale bar downtown that offered panoramic views of the city. It was also the site of Nicole's company holiday party, scheduled for the same evening. Jenna arrived first, looking polished and professional in a black dress and heels. She'd chosen a corner table with a view of the city lights, probably thinking it would impress her potential client. I watched from across the bar as she checked her phone repeatedly, growing more agitated as the minutes passed. Finally, I walked over. Jenna Walsh? She looked up with a practiced smile that faltered when she recognized me. Tom, what are you doing here? Waiting for you to explain why you've spent 2 years destroying my life. The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. Morrison Communications, the email leak that got you fired, the systematic manipulation of my wife to get revenge on me. You're paranoid. Nicole left you because you're a controlling, abusive. Save it. I sat down across from her. Derek told me everything. How you've been pulling strings, creating chaos, making sure I looked like the villain while you stayed in the shadows. Jenna's mask finally slipped, revealing the cold calculation underneath. You destroyed my career. Everything I'd worked for, gone because you couldn't mind your own business. I reported criminal fraud. You were lying to clients, stealing their money. I was doing my job, she hissed. And you cost me everything, my reputation, my career, my future. So yes, I decided to return the favor. By manipulating Nicole into cheating? Jenna laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Nicole didn't need much encouragement. She was already bored with you, already looking for something better. I just helped her see her options. And Derek? Brad? Useful idiots. Derek's desperate for attention, Brad's desperate for status. Neither of them realized they were being used. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. You know what the funny thing is? You actually did me a favor. What? You showed me who Nicole really was. Saved me from wasting more years on someone who never loved me. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Is that supposed to make me feel guilty? Because it doesn't. You deserve everything that's happened to you. Maybe. But you made one crucial mistake. Which is? I smiled and pulled out my phone, showing her the recording app that had been running since I sat down. You just confessed to everything. Her face went white. You can't... Can't what? Use this against you? Watch me. I stood up and walked toward the main part of the bar, where Nicole's holiday party was in full swing. The startup's young, hip employees were scattered across the rooftop, drinks in hand, networking and gossiping under the string lights. Nicole was holding court near the bar, surrounded by co-workers and looking radiant in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. She saw me approaching, and her expression shifted from surprise to anger. What are you doing here, Tom? Just wanted to share some interesting news with your friends. I pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker from my jacket pocket and connected it to my phone. The recorded conversation began to play, Jenna's voice crystal clear as she described her 2-year manipulation campaign. The party gradually went quiet as people realized what they were hearing. Nicole's face cycled through confusion, shock, and dawning horror as the truth unfolded. Nicole didn't need much encouragement. She was already bored with you, already looking for something better. I just helped her see her options. Derek's desperate for attention, Brad's desperate for status. Neither of them realized they were being used. You deserve everything that's happened to you. When the recording ended, the rooftop was silent except for the distant sounds of traffic below. Nicole stared at me with tears in her eyes, finally understanding how thoroughly she'd been manipulated. Tom, Save it, I said, echoing Jenna's earlier words. You made your choice. The fact that someone else helped you make it doesn't change anything. I looked around at the assembled crowd, all of them staring at me with a mixture of shock and fascination. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the real Nicole Patterson, a woman so easily manipulated that she destroyed a 6-year marriage because her friend whispered the right poison in her ear. Nicole's face crumpled. Please, Tom, I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. I turned to address the crowd one final time. They say the best revenge is living well, but sometimes the best revenge is just making sure everyone knows the truth. I walked toward the exit, leaving behind the wreckage of Nicole's reputation and Jenna's carefully laid plans. As I reached the elevator, I could hear the buzz of shocked conversations starting up behind me. Maya was waiting in the lobby, grinning like she'd just watched her fighter knock out the champion. How'd it go? Better than I hoped. And now? I looked back toward the elevators, thinking about Nicole and Jenna and Derek and Brad, all of them dealing with the consequences of their choices. Now I go home, alone. And for the first time in months, that sounds perfect. We walked out into the cool night air, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Behind us, the chaos continued on the rooftop, but I was already moving forward. Option 3 had worked better than I'd ever imagined.